I'm Megyn Kelly, live in New York City, and tonight.
Some education officials are going off after the Justice Department suggests what critics are calling a racial quota system when it comes to punishing kids. Plus, new fallout tonight after two top journalists drop a bombshell about Hillary Clinton's hit list. And wait until you see the top Democrats who are on it. And then,
this is not a vote. We're going to cut them loose, and we're going home. Roger that, sir.
Fallout after an interview with the real-life hero from the box office smash Lone Survivor. Reaction tonight from Medal of Honor winner Dakota Meyer.
And welcome to the Kelly File. Developing tonight, the world's most dangerous terrorists scoring what critics call two big wins from behind the fences of Guantanamo Bay. At this very moment, Osama bin Laden's bodyguard is reportedly a step closer to freedom after a secret Obama administration review board reverses course, deciding, contrary to its own earlier findings, that this man is just no longer too dangerous to release. At the very same time, we're learning that the mastermind of 9/11, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, is now communicating beyond the walls of his cell with a pen pal in England spewing terrorist propaganda. And wait until you hear what he's saying and who is helping him. Deborah Burlingame is the co-founder of 9/11 Families for a Safe and Strong America. Her brother was a pilot killed in the 9/11 attacks. She will speak to this KSM nonsense in a moment. But first, Fox News senior judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano joins us on this gift to bin Laden's suspected bodyguard. Judge, they say that he's now been cleared for eventual transfer. We don't know exactly what that means. It doesn't necessarily mean immediate release, but he's eligible now for transfer subject to appropriate security and humane treatment conditions. And you say what?
Well, I say that this is a case that tests one's fidelity to the Constitution. But the law is pretty clear. The Constitution guarantees a fair process called due process to everybody affected by the government. The Supreme Court has ruled 5 times since 9/11 that the Constitution applies in Guantanamo Bay. So that means if the government wants to keep somebody there beyond a brief period of time to assure his presence at trial, it has to put him on trial, or if it doesn't have enough evidence, it has to let him go. But we need to know what the evidence is. The concept of doing this in secret and then reversing it in secret smells of a political deal rather than a judicial decision.
It's separate and apart from the secret nature of the proceedings, Judge. On your first point, you know there's a war going on.
Yes.
I mean, in war, generally, we capture or kill.
Yes.
This guy, why isn't this guy just thanking his lucky stars that he wasn't killed and enjoy Gitmo for its soccer fields and everything else that is out there? That is what the critics argue, that actually, when you're actually trying to win a war, the goal is to win.
The emotional side of me agrees with you. And as you know, I've been to Gitmo. And as a prison, it's extremely high end. But in terms of the Constitution, the Supreme Court has said these people, even that person right there, who probably is exactly what the government says he is entitled to the same protections as the rest of us. And if the government can't try him and prove to a neutral jury what it says he did, it has to let him go. Now, when it lets him go, they can follow him.
Oh, come
on. They can rearrest him. They can even shoot him if he...
We're going to release. We have a 30% recidivism rate, meaning they go back out and try to kill us again.
Yes.
What do we think? We're going to send this guy, bin Laden's driver, bodyguard, back to Yemen, and suddenly he's going to say, you know what, I love America. I'm not going to try to kill Americans anymore.
I doubt that he's ever going to change his mind. But we have a Constitution that means what it says and a Supreme Court prepared to enforce it. Now, why the government chose him and why the government chose to let him go after it said it had enough evidence to charge him and convict him,
and
we
that
will
he should never
know.
be released. That they were never going to release him. And now suddenly never mind. Oh, never mind. Off you go.
We have a right to know. And because the same Constitution that guarantees him a trial guarantees transparency, and the Obama administration is blocking the transparency.
And we don't have it. That's page 1 of our update on the terrorists at Gitmo. Judge, thank you. For page 2, there's this issue about the mastermind of 9/11. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who's now communicating with the outside world. Deborah Burlingame joins me now on that. Deborah, this is incredible to me. Some home health care worker in England got a 27-page letter, handwritten, from the mastermind of 9/11, talking about his repentance, and this is allowed?
It's not allowed. It's absolutely not allowed. The lawyers in this case, his defense attorneys, according to The Guardian, intercepted this, or somehow, I believe, smuggled the initial letter into him. You can't write a letter to Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and get it to him at Guantanamo.
Is that a crime? It's a crime, isn't it? Don't we have Lynn Stewart in jail for doing this?
It is a violation of the protective order that was set in 2004 by Judge Joyce Hens Green in the D.C. Circuit, prohibiting propaganda, prohibiting contraband from being allowed into the cells of these detainees. The lawyers have to sign extensive agreements. These are access agreements saying what they will abide by in order to have access to their clients. Somebody must have smuggled this letter from this kid in when he was in a North Carolina college. And then they first they translated and retyped, according to The Guardian, and smuggled these 27 pages out. That's a gross violation of the protective order that was filed in 2004. That protective order, by the way, was negotiated with the original habeas attorneys. They all agreed to this.
They agreed to abide by it. So that's the question of how does this guy, how does one of the world's worst living terrorists get to communicate in a 27-page propaganda piece railing on Christianity, again talking about how he has allegedly repented, as the home health care worker asked him to do?
Well, first of all, he didn't say, according to what I read, that he repented for 9/11.
Right.
He just simply said that he repents every day. And I guarantee you, this is a man who goes to court wearing camouflage army warrior fatigues. This is a guy who is repenting because he's no longer part of the jihad and he can't kill more infidels. That's what he has to repent for every day. And this 25-year-old from Nottingham, England, is in over his head. This is a very smart guy, and what he's doing is he is communicating with his fellow jihadis all over the world. This is a gold mine of propaganda coming from the rock star of 9/11 right out from his jail cell.
This is
That's how
incredible.
stupid the infidels are in letting this get out. And his attorneys, I have to say, shame on you, Major Derek Poteet, a Marine, an active duty Marine. You are a disgrace to your uniform for participating in this and trying to make this man look like a sympathetic man in need of spiritual comfort from this clueless guy in England who lost 67 of his fellow British nationals on 9/11. This is dangerous because what this does is this energizes the jihadis who read this and hear this. They're not hearing a conversation about theology. They're hearing this guy tell them, keep going. The West is a despicable and unsavory place. He talks, and by the way, he outs himself as a pedophile in this letter. He says that the United States or the West is so corrupt, the sexual atmosphere is so bad, any normal unmarried man is going to be sexually aroused by pretty young children. I mean, so it's not all good news coming out of this letter for jihad and their reputation.
This is so ridiculous, though, Deb. I mean, we are supposed to be tightly corralling people like KSM and Bin Laden's driver, and instead we got one who's about to get a jail free pass, or he's getting transferred someplace, probably not someplace that cares about as much about American safety as we do, and number two, you got KSM who's got a pen pal.
It is ridiculous, and it's because of the lawyers. And may I, for a moment, respond to what Judge Napolitano just said? I never thought that I would have the opportunity to correct a judge on live television. He doesn't know what he's talking about. The Supreme Court in 2004 in the Hamdi decision said that under the AUMF, the authorization for the use of military force, these people can be kept until the end of hostilities without any charges whatsoever, as long as they have due process. That's what this guy has been getting all these years. The fact that they have decided to clear him for release, and your viewers need to know, that doesn't mean they've exonerated him. That means that they have, under pressure from this administration, made a political decision to empty Guantanamo. This man was deemed dangerous. He was deemed as one of the worst, one of the strongest ideologue jihadis. the recidivism rate is not only 30%, Megan, because we're just down to the core, the worst jihadis of all. The recidivism rate is also accelerating. They go back to jihad much faster. And two of the leaders in the Libyan fighting groups, the al-Qaeda-connected groups, are run, one by an ex-ITMO guy and one by a guy who was kept in Bagram for years, given back to Gaddafi, who kept him in prison until the Arab Spring.
Yeah, no, that made the news. One of the Benghazi terrorists was released from Gitmo as part of this, same program.
Deb, I got to go because we're short on time. Group.
We're going to continue this. We are back on this tomorrow night. This is. You have to shine a light on this. I mean, what's next? Who's going to walk next? Who's going to get a pen pal next so they can spew terrorist propaganda while we're sitting at home having our dinner? Deb, thank you.
Thank you, Megan.
What do you think about it? I mean, listen, everybody's very focused on Chris Christie and a bridge, and that's a story. But we're talking about terrorist propaganda from one of, if not the worst living terrorist in the country being sent out to some kid over in England in 27 pages. Who are the lawyers who assisted with this? What's going to be done about this? And who else is about to get a get-out-of-jail-free card from Gitmo? What do you think? Send me a tweet at Megyn Kelly. Leave a comment on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/The Kelly File. We are not done with that.